What's good, YouTube? Zamcrow here, aka Scoot, back with the United Battle Championship Season 5, Week number 4 Prep Talk, where I'm going to be talking about my preparation for my Week 4 battle against S5W4. Basically, talk about my sets, what kind of team I brought, why I brought it, etc., and talk about the season a little bit. So, that being said, I'll go ahead and hop into it here. Go over team rosters for a second. My team is as always, and you can see it on screen there, so I'm not going to talk about it. His team, S5W4, coach of the Big Island Volcanions. He's drafted a team, as you can see on screen. Mega Venusaur, Florges, Latios, Terrakion, Umbreon, Fortress, Blastoise, Tornadus Therian, Jolteon, Palossand, Rapidash, and Kangaskhan, where Tornadus Therian is his Z-move user. Pretty interesting squad. Nice energy there with the first 3 picks. You got some very offensive mons, some very defensive mons as well. Some nice coverage move mons like Tornadus Therian, Latios, and Terrakion, Jolteon, even to an extent. So some pretty interesting and unique things like Rapidash, Kangaskhan. Some very standard things like Mega Venusaur and Jolteon that I guess not necessarily Mega Venusaur, but Jolteon's kind of a one-trick pony. I guess it does have like sub-baton pass and like curse sets and all kinds of weird stuff it can do, but mostly a one-trick pony. You basically know what it's going to do. But yeah, pretty threatening squad. It's got a couple different ways of hazard removal and defog Latios and spin Fortress, spin Blastoise, and I think that's it. Couple different stealth rockers and some spikes and target spike setters, so I needed to be mindful of that. But I bring a balanced build with some offensive threats. But like I said, it's a balanced build. I started out with my Kieran Black here with the Terravolt. It's really nice because it's breaks through Mega Venusaur's thick fat, can 2-hit KO with Ice Beam. Depending on its investment, could potentially OHKO, but very unlikely because Mega Venusaur's pretty bulky, so most likely a 2-hit KO. Outrage is a 2-hit KO on everything else, if not an OHKO, if not immune to like Florges, which Iron Head hits, and I have the Roost to roost off my Life Orb damage and to be able to roost off, come in on things like maybe a Jolteon or Palossand or something, maybe something weird, take advantage of it, roost off the damage while he switches out. And yeah, just Ice Beam and Outrage was all I needed this match. My investment allows me to do 2-hit KO, even a max defense Umbreon with Outrage, and Ice Beam. Rocks plus Ice Beam damage puts Florges guaranteed into Iron Head range, no matter what kind of set he is. So that's interesting, because Kieran Black's just so powerful. That base 170 attack really puts in work. You can't see it, but at 252 Lonely Nature, which is a attack boosting nature, his max attack sits at 482, which is pretty damn near 500. So pretty powerful there. And like, this monster has the potential to run through his team. But the next mon I have here is another Terravolt mon. Basically, it's a Mold Breaker mon. Basically, Terravolt and Mold Breaker are the same thing, just have different name. Choice Scarf Excadrill with Earthquake, Iron Head, Stealth Rocket, and Rapid Spin. Most likely going to be my lead of choice. Earthquake hits everything, and then like except for like Tornadus Therian, I believe, and Tornadus Therian is hit by Iron Head, so I'm fine with that. Choice Scarf Stealth Rock is like if I lead Excadrill and he leads Jolteon, or I lead Excadrill and he leads Tornadus Therian, he might want to switch out so I can set up my Stealth Rocks on his switch. I would most likely predict to switch out and click Stealth Rock, and then when whatever he brings in, it would probably be a counter to Excadrill like Umbreon or something, so I could switch out to something like Tangrowth or Rotom Wash or even Mega Gardevoir. Fucking Diantha always makes me think of Diancie for some reason. I guess because the first like 4 letters are the same. Anyways, yeah, just Choice Scarf. I was afforded to go Adamant this week so I could run max attack and have 405 attack, and then only needed 204 speed investment because at this with this speed and choice scarf, I outspeed basically everything I need to outspeed. If he is a choice scarf variant of something that outspeeds a choice scarf Excadrill, then being max speed really doesn't matter anyway. So that was my thought process there. I can take Hurricanes a little bit better from Tornadus Therian with a little bit of a 52 EVs and SPDF. Makes a little difference. He will have free Hurricanes if he comes in on something like Tangrowth, which is my next mon on the field here. I do rock the Assault Vest so I can always take one. Regenerator, obviously. Giga Drain basically is the only stab I needed. Knockoff to get rid of items. Rock Slide for the Tornadus Therian. Hidden Power Fire for the Fortress, if he brought it. But I don't know if he will. And yeah, so basically just max SPDF, max HP, and a little bit of defense investment. But yeah, basically just a special defensive sponge here, so I can take hits from the likes of Jolteon pretty easily. If I have to, I can take some from Tornadus Therian and Mega Venusaur, but I don't really want to. Latios can eat Dracos for days. Blastoise and Jolteon can't really hurt me. Florges can't really hurt me, can get rid of all their items. So that's really fortunate for me. And makes Tangrowth a nuisance for him. So, and with Regenerator, I can always take a hit, switch out, and I don't ever have to be afraid to take something from like Tornadus Therian or Mega Venusaur if it's going for like a Sludge Bomb or a Hurricane, respectively. Then I guess unrespectively. I guess I could stay in, take the hit to get a knockoff or a Hidden Power Fire or a Giga Drain off or something, Rock Slide or something like that, and then switch out to like Rotom Wash or Excadrill, depending on if it's Sludge Bomb or Hurricane, and get my Regenerator back so I can get my HP back, and then it's like I took half maybe or a little bit less than half damage from whatever move they went for, because Regenerator gives me 33% back. So that's always nice to have. Next up is going to be Mega Gardevoir. It's one of my win conditions. Could set up on things like Umbreon, Florges, a Latios that could potentially be like choice locked. Even Jolteon to an extent. Like I can set up on potentially a Jolteon, depending if it's locked into something like a Thunderbolt or Hidden Power or something like that. Can take advantage of its Volt Absorb, things like that. I'm trying to think of what else I can take advantage of by tracing their ability. I don't think nothing else right off the bat. I guess like I could switch in on a Fortress that's going for Gyro Ball, trace its 30 and live on 1, and then Mega Evolve and attack. I guess that's something I could trace, but it's not really ideal or anything like that. So I'm going to leave that just there. I don't really see anything else I can capitalize on. But for Florges and Umbreon, one of them is very likely to come. Potentially both of them are likely to come. So Mega Gardevoir can really take advantage of those passive mons with its natural bulk and like resistance to dark anyway. Well, not really resistance, but like Foul Play is not going to be doing much because I don't really have attack stats, like physical attack and stat. But yeah, and I can sub up, so it's unlikely that something like a Florges or a Umbreon or maybe even a Jolteon can break my sub, especially if I get a Calm Mind up. And then Hyper Voice and Psyshock was basically all I needed. After a Calm Mind, everything's 2-hit KO'd by Hyper Voice, and if they're Assault Vest, then I can just attack them with the Psyshock, which is basically there for the Venusaur and potentially Assault Vest, Tornadus Therian, things like that, etc., etc. So, I think that's all it's there for. I guess if you prove to be any kind of Assault Vest mon, like if Tornadus Therian or Blastoise come in on a Hyper Voice and didn't take as much as I thought it would, then I could just click Psyshock the following turn and not risk, not knocking out a Hyper or an Assault Vest Mon with a Hyper Voice. So that's important. Next up is so at this point I realized that even though it's an what's the word? It's one of those underrated mons in the format, in my opinion. Rapidash, Kangaskhan, both of those two are underrated in the format, in my opinion. It's up there with like Primeape and things like that are underrated. Stunfisk, just those hidden gems in the lower tiers. I was pretty weak to Rapidash at this point, so I figured that I could cover my Rapidash and my Tornadus Therian weakness in Rotom Wash, and as you can see here, I'm basically a OU defensive pivot set in terms of my move set, but I have a little bit different EVs, whereas I don't have max HP or max defense. I have almost max HP, quite a lot of special defense, and just a little bit of defense. This allows me to take a Hurricane from Tornadus Therian, and then take all the way up to an Supersonic Sky Strike Z move, Acid Downpour Z move, any kind of Z move he could go for, except maybe like an all out pummeling from like a Focus Blast or a Superpower maybe might knock me out or something. I think it's a roll. If it's like an offensive Tornadus Therian, that is. But yeah, then Will-O-Wisp is just there for like things like Terrakion, and I guess Kangaskhan, just offensive threats, physically offensive threats. Just spreading a burn around in general is really nice because it can hinder things like Florges or fucking Umbreon and Fortress from being able to break subs and on Mega Gardevoir, potentially doing any damage to Kieran Black and Excadrill. And things like Mega Venusaur, which is a likely switch into Rotom Wash, wouldn't like the Will-O-Wisp and then watch me switch into something and take hardly any damage. Like I don't have a switch into Mega Venusaur, but all my mons can like at least get some damage off on it and then pivot out or something. Or I could trade a mon like Kieran Black. I could click Ice Beam twice and take a hit from it. Or Excadrill, I could click Earthquake twice and do a lot of damage, whereas it would have to start synthesizing up, throw off a Leech Seed or something. Or it could take advantage of my Tangrowth, I guess. Mega Venusaur could. I do have Psyshock on Mega Gardevoir, so I can hit it. It takes advantage of my Rotom Wash, and I guess it could take advantage of my Cofagrigus as well, which is another problem I'm getting ready to go over on my team. It's not really a problem, but it is something that can hinder me. Anyways, Volt Switch is there just because he has a lot of switch-ins. Mega Venusaur, Latios, Umbreon, Jolteon, coming in on a Volt Switch and getting the Volt Absorb, Palisand, all kinds of different stuff that can switch in. So I also have the Will-O-Wisp and the Hydro Pump. Have the Pain Split to Pain Split up on slower things like Fortress and Umbreon if they're really high health and I'm really low health. So that's really important in this match. Hydro Pump's there for the Rapidash, like I said. If he does bring the Rapidash, then I'll most likely lead with my Rotom Wash. If he brings the Tornadus Therian, that's probably still most likely going to be my lead, is the Rotom Wash. And yeah, so next up is going to be Cofagrigus. It's a defensive set. Basically, it looks like a special defensive set as I barely have any defense investment. But this is like Cofagrigus is so defensive. 145 base defense there with the bold nature. Basically, this is all the defense investment I need to take on a Terrakion 100% of the time. Unless it is Choice Banded Stone Edge, then I can switch in every time and not have a problem. Now, like, if I come in on a Banded Stone Edge, it's going to do, like, 45%, and then he's going to either go for it again, potentially 3-hit KO me, 2-hit KO me potentially if he gets a crit or something, or gets like really high rolls or something. He could potentially 2-hit KO me, but really nothing I can do about that. But he would be locked into it, so I would know that. And then I'll just dump the rest in special defense just to be able to better take hits from Mega Venusaur, Florges, Latios, Blastoise, Tornadus, Jolteon, etc. And then, but this thing is my Terrakion check, like most definitely my Terrakion check. And I do pack the Haze, so if he starts setting up Swords Dances or Calm Minds with Florges to beat me 1v1, or Curses with Mega Venusaur, Growth with Mega Venusaur, anything, Curse with Umbreon, any kind of weird stuff with like setup. Then I do have the Haze. The Toxic Spikes is there for when the Mega Venusaur goes down. It would be nice to get up Toxic Spikes. Really affects the Florges, the Terrakion, the Umbreon, the Blastoise, the Jolteon, the Palossand, the Rapidash, and the Kangaskhan really well. Shadow Ball hits everything except the Kangaskhan, which is really nice. It doesn't do any damage to Umbreon, but at least it does, it's not immune. Haze and Pain Split there again, so I can Pain Split up on things like Fortress and Umbreon, because with this investment, Umbreon, literally, even if it's an offensive variant, does no damage, even with the type advantage. So there's that, and yeah, that's going to be the team. So basically I pack 2 leftover mons that are really fat, mixed defensive, and Assault Vest, Spidef, Regenerator, Tangrowth, which is really fat, and then 3 very offensive mons, 1 special attacker, a physical attacker, and a mixed attacker. So really, really nice balanced team here in my opinion that should work pretty solidly against a fatter team that's kind of, sort of, well, not really a passive team, but it does have 2 passive mons that I can take advantage of, and I think that's very important. But yeah, it's gonna be the prep talk there. So I can go over some other things though. Kieran Black is doing well this season. It's in the top 2 for the leaderboard, which is nice. I guess it's number 2 in the leaderboard. We're 2-1 going into this match. Our opponent is 1-2, so we're both trying to get some wins here to get into a playoff position. This is a divisional match, I think, or maybe it's like an interconference match. I'm not real sure. Yeah, no, it's an interdivision match. That's what it is. And so yeah, we know our opponent's a good player. We know we're a good player. And we're looking to make some noise here this season after coming short in last season's playoffs. And, yeah, let me know what you thought of the prep. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, all the good stuff. Make some noise for the Blackmont Raccoons, and I'll see you guys in the battle. Battle goes up in like 5 or 6 hours or something weird like that. It goes up at 4 p.m. Eastern time. Or 6 p.m. Eastern time, I'm not sure. So yeah, I'll see you guys there.